Hey guys! So today we are going to answer a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Fredrik, should I work at a big company or should I work at a small company? So let's get into it. Now, this is, as you probably can imagine what I'm going to say, it's kind of depends, and it does, because it depends on your preferences. All I can really give you is, of course, my own take on how it is to work on either side of the fence, basically, because I've worked in an extremely small startup. I currently work in a mature startup, like a mid-sized company, and I've also worked at a very, very large international company. So I can kind of give you some guidance, and of course I have tons of friends who work in various industries, and I also have experience working in tandem with people from different parts of, well, the industry, basically. So I think I can give you some perspective. So generally, a few things are true. So if we start by looking at the really large companies first and foremost, the thing that is probably most universally telling and the biggest difference between a really large organization and a very small one is the amount of overhead and administrative process that is involved in everything you do. In other words, in a really large company, you should be aware of that things move quite a bit slower and you have less control over basically your own work processes. It's very likely that you will start working in an ecosystem that has been established since many years back, and it's not that likely that you're going to have a lot of say in feature deliveries or what tools you want to use and things of this nature. They're trying, companies like that at that scale, they're trying to adopt the startup mentality and agile development processes and DevOps and all that good stuff, because they see a value in it. But most of these companies are not really there, and most of these companies are, well, let's just say that they can't really go all in on this sort of stuff due to legacy reasons, because when you have a really, really large company, there's so many stakeholders and so many departments that you can't just in one department decide, hey, we want to work like this, because you have interconnections and dependencies to all these other departments, and they have their own way of doing things and they want to work in a certain way. And that's usually when office politics come into play, where basically if you want anything done or you want any change or anything like that, apart from doing exactly the thing that you are told to do, you are going to have to lobby, you're going to have to hopefully have influence within the organization. The good part of working in a large company, especially if you are a little bit more junior, is that they have the resources to train you properly, and it's very likely that they will perform work and have structures in place that is very in line with what the rest of the industry is doing. In other words, if you are a completely fresh beginner and you are learning everything for the first time, it's actually not a bad idea to be working at a large product company of some sort, due to the fact that there is process, due to the fact that they have staff and people available to train you, because they're making an investment in you and they have the money to do so. So it depends a little bit on your preferences. If you want a more quality mindset, you want more time to do things properly. I mean, it's not like you can take forever, but it's things in general move a little bit slower, and there is more process around it, for better and for worse, depending on, there's always pros and cons, right? Now, smaller companies, where we are talking about small startups and companies who don't have the sort of resources that these large corporations have, they have their benefits and they have their downsides as well. So the benefit of having a small sized company and working there is that it's very fast paced. If you are the sort of person you want to ship things, you want to have a say in your own work process, maybe have a say in the tools you use or influence different features and come with suggestions and improvements, this sort of stuff. When you want to really push things, then this is a very good environment. If you want to be involved in pretty much everything, this is also a very good environment. If you're a generalist, it's pretty great, because at large scale, it's very likely that you are hired to do one specific job, or maybe one or two very specific jobs, and that's your that's your area, and everybody else has their own area. You have specialists most generally who take care of things, but at smaller scale they don't have the money to hire specialists for every single thing. Therefore they are trying most likely to find people who are generalists, who are pretty good at most of the stuff, which means that if you are the sort of person who want to learn it all, then this is a very good environment to be in. However, it's also, if we talk about the stuff that is not so great, it's also often very hectic. The budgets are very, very limited, which means that you have to prioritize the survival of the company above all else. In other words, if it ever stands between what you want and what the business wants, or like actually producing value that will create revenue and income for the company, you can throw whatever you want out the window. They are not going to give you extra time just to do things properly unless there's a really good return on investment there. So generally there's less structure, less process. Everything is often more ad hoc, where you pretty much have to hack things together in order just to ship something, because smaller companies have the luxury of moving faster, but the large company usually has, as I said, a slower work process, and that usually reflects in the deadlines as well. So a large company will usually have really, really big deliveries with a fairly long deadline, or quite a lot of time before the deadline is needed. You need to meet it. But for a small company, they usually have the reverse, where the deadlines are shorter, the deliveries are smaller, but they also need to deliver on time, which means that, hey, if everything needs to move faster, so do you. So what I want you to take away from this is that, depending on your preferences, I would say, as a rule of thumb, if you are an absolute fresh beginner, it helps a lot if you find a company that has at least the time and the mindset to invest in you as an individual, so that you actually have access to teammates and things of this nature, so you can actually learn things. Because if you go into a very, very small company very early in your career, odds are that you're going to be so swamped with work and probably a little bit overwhelmed, and the company is most likely not going to give you the proper training that you need, that you might actually damage yourself a little bit. That's not a given, but once you have and that's very individual. It can happen, it can depend on everything from just 1 year of experience, or maybe you're ready right off the bat. It's very hard to say. But what is good to consider is that generally, at least from my perspective, it makes a lot of sense to start off with a company that is a little bit more mature, so that you have the time to get the proper training. Because once you feel comfortable doing software development just in general, going into a smaller company can often be a lot of fun. It's just that you need to have the skills to actually keep up with how fast everything is moving. Have a great day.